Get woke, go broke. How do we fight against that? Well, for one, don't cave. Don't cave. When you don't cave, you succeed. And I'm going to give you a couple of perfect examples. And these come from the video game realm, which you're going to be like, oh, he's talking about video games again. Y'all need to pay attention to the video game realm. A, it's the blue whale in the subculture. C, more people play video games than you can possibly fathom. The other thing is gamers have gotten very good at fighting against social justice warriors. They have years and years and years under their experience, and they're not afraid of them. It's I can give you the entire history on Gamergate and stuff like that later on. But here's two games that really they took off, and everyone's loved them. They succeeded big because they didn't cave to social justice pressure. And at least in one case, they didn't. They defied social justice expectations and ended up making a game that everybody loves. So the first one, got to get my coffee on. The first one was a game called Far Cry 5. It was recently released. And it was supposed to be, when it was first announced, it was supposed to be this anti-Republican, anti-right-wing, anti-Christian game that the left was going to lose its mind over. The game itself, it takes place in rural Montana and the mountains, the fields, the farms, and stuff like that. And the whole premise of the game is this cult takes over the town and either kills you or forces you to join them. And a resistance starts to pop up with the townsfolk kind of revolting against this cult. And this cult, if you were just trying to go off the commercials and the trailers and stuff like that, the cult it looks very Christian, like the Christian kind of, doom and gloom. Y'all gonna die if you don't believe what I say, that kind of thing. It was led by a guy named Joseph C., the cult leader, who is, just everything about him just screams crazy Christian, right? So that's one of the reasons the left went wild over this. They were like, oh, finally, those white middle class, middle America Christians are going to get it. This is going to be the game for the ages. And then it released. And it turns out that it was not at all anything like they wanted it to be. In fact, the left, I had a field day when the reviews started coming in, because the leftist game developer, the game reviewers, couldn't stop talking about how, like, they had to admit that the game was fun, but that the messages behind it were just unsettling, uncomfortable. And they did not like it. The reviews came in, they did not like the message behind it, because what it ended up being was a pro-America, pro-middle America, pro-gun, pro-gun kind of take on what would happen if a cult like that actually did have the capability of taking over a town. The game was fun, it was beautiful, and the message, it surprised me, because I actually did expect it to be kind of anti-us, anti-middle America, anti-white guy, anti-Christian, anti-gun, No, it was great. And they couldn't stand it, and it sold massively. Another one, developer Warhorse Studios. They came out with a game called Kingdom Come Deliverance. Now, social justice warriors were furious over this game. Why? Because it had a lack of representation from other races. Now, what is this game about? It takes place, you are basically this kind of blacksmith's son who exists in 1400s Bohemia, right in the Middle Ages. And they're mad. The social justice warriors were mad that there were no black people in there. Well, there should be black representation in there. Well, I'm sorry, in 1400s Bohemia, you didn't see a lot of ethnic diversity. You just didn't. And they tried to pressure Warhorse Studios into caving and add this, add that, add this. It'll make the game more acceptable. And Warhorse were like, no, we're not. We're going to stay true. We're going to stay true to the time period. We're not going to do this. They didn't back down. And the developers continued with historically accurate representation of the land and the times, and wouldn't you know it, the game was massively successful. Warhorse Studios made bank. Their game got such high reviews. The social justice nonsense that they tried to force on it, when they ignored it, turned out to be just a putter. Like, there was no real threat there. They succeeded big. Do you notice what happened here in both of these situations? They didn't apologize. They didn't apologize. The problem with apologies is that apologies legitimize the social justice warriors' anger and makes them feel like their morality is correct, that their take on things is absolute. An apology is an admission of guilt. An admission of guilt is an acknowledgement that the other person is correct in their position and not you. And this empowers them. Now remember that social justice warriors are people who their biggest desire is power over everyone else. And if they can learn to bring you low, they will take every advantage. So, apologies are kind of like you saying, go ahead and dominate me to a social justice warrior. It's not like an apology to a normal person where you have mea culpa and you move on. They forgive you for your transgression toward them and you admit guilt. No, it doesn't stop there. For a social justice warrior, an apology is basically the go-ahead to be dominated. It's the justification of their worldview. To them, an apology is power, not an equaling of the playing field. And I feel like we as a society really need to get behind that understanding.